Okay. I'm not going to hog the show. Paul or Brett, fight to the death. Which one? Hold on. Rock, paper. Can we do a rock, paper, scissors? Like, seriously, like, bring your wrists up. Can we see that? Can we see that happen? Paul, do it. All right. 1, 2, 3. Rock, paper, scissors, say shoot. Oh, Brett won. Brett won. All right. So that means, Paul, you go now.
Oh, okay. I thought he won. He goes first.
No.
That's fine. It's interesting, to follow one Fuji with another, right? So I've got right here in my hands. This is the Fujifilm X-T4. In many ways, if you didn't see this badge right here, if I tape this up with like gaffer's tape, most people would just think, oh, that's like X-T3, right? And in a lot of ways, it looks almost identical. Just if you at a glance, you would probably not realize that it's a brand new X-T4. But it's got some, I would say, often requested upgrades that Fuji has finally included in camera. So as you can see here, here's the front. I've got the 16-80 f4 lens mounted to it. So look at the camera. You can finally do this. Boom. I've got a fully articulating screen now. So I'd like to thank Fuji for that.
How much have you actually used that?
Surprisingly, a lot. Especially if I'm trying. So let's say at the protest, I was able to lift the camera up and kind of tilt the screen down, and that allowed me to shoot easier. Or if I'm shooting long exposures, landscapes, and I've got a tripod that's quite low, I could tilt the screen up and just use the screen rather than trying to get down on the ground and look through the viewfinder. So it's very useful. And I was also using it when I was using this. Last couple of episodes, I've actually been live streaming using this camera, and I was able to get my framing easily just by using the screen. And something that people like Chris will appreciate is it's got a similar thing where obviously normally you would have with it turned on, you've got the screen right here, or alternatively you could just close it. Now
Yay, no chimping and more battery life.
Right. Now, so it's kind of like super vintagey. Like it looks like you're shooting with a film camera, and you don't have to worry about like people like me. What happens is sometimes if I've got the camera up here, my nose sometimes will push up against the touchscreen, and it'll do all sorts of funkiness by activating the touchscreen. And that's one thing I don't have to worry about. And also, if I'm shooting in a low light environment, like it's less of a distraction for the people surrounding me. So if I want to remain somewhat incognito, I could, turn the screen inside inwards. And also, like when you're traveling, it protects the LCD as well. One thing I do wish is a better touchscreen functionality. So right now, I could use it to adjust my F points. I could use it to actually tell the camera to capture a photo, and I could use it to interact with the quick menu. However, when I'm in the actual menus, the touchscreen doesn't work. So I'm not quite sure what the rationale is, but this is not a problem unique to Fuji. Other manufacturers also have touchscreens that don't give you full functionality. So that leaves a little bit to be desired. Another huge upgrade is this camera, the X-T4, is the first camera in the XT series that has in-body image stabilization. Depending on the lens you're using with it, it goes up to 6.5 stops of image stabilization. I'm the first to admit that I don't have the steadiest hands. So sometimes shooting at slower shutter speeds can result in blurry images for me using those cameras. With this, with the X-T4, I was able to shoot down to a fifth of a second. Normally stuff that I would never even think about attempting.
The lens that you're using, is that image stabilized as well?
I believe it is. Yeah, it's got OIS built in, optical image stabilization. So since the body is stabilized and the lens stabilized, you get that full 6.5 stops. Some lenses that aren't, you can still rely on the camera body itself for the stabilization. but you get the most out of it by coupling the two. And there's also an IS boost mode that you can turn on in the camera if you're shooting like high-speed sports or something. So that's another option. I'm just gonna show you guys. So right now, obviously, I've got the battery grip mounted on here. But if I take it off, you'll notice that it's quite a bit small. Okay, so here's the grip. Here's the camera.
Wow.
So yeah, it's quite a bit small. The reason why this grip it's so big is it actually allows you to add 2 additional batteries to the camera. In addition to obviously for the portrait shooters out there like myself, I can hold the camera vertically without having to kind of shoot like like shooting like this, holding it like this all day. Your arms would get fatigued after a while. But now my arm is, my hand rather, it's in a much more comfortable and natural position. So that's great. And, obviously the added battery life is a huge bonus. And speaking about battery, we finally have a new battery for the X-T4. So it looks kind of like some of the batteries you've seen from competitor systems, but from my test, I'm able to get entire days worth of shooting and not even go through the whole the one battery. And this was, with the X-T3, that battery life was somewhat improved over the X-T2, but still, I felt that I had to at least have a couple of spares on me. With the X-T4, I can comfortably go an entire day, even without the vertical grip, and I'd be good. Unless I'm shooting like long exposure, like super long exposures.
Can you clarify that? When you're doing that, are you in boost mode or are you in normal mode?
In which?
You said that you can shoot for an entire day, and I know that you usually shoot in boost mode.
Yeah, I've been having it on boost mode pretty much the whole time.
And it still lasts a day?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
That's good.
Obviously, I'm not like shooting continuously, like for 8 hours. I'm talking about I'm walking like throughout the entire day of like just street shooting, going in and out of the city. Anytime I see something interesting, grabbing a shot, and usually leaving the camera on. I was able to get like a really good battery life out of it, and of course, if you're like shooting like an entire sports game and you're just constantly pushing down on the shutter, you probably want to invest in the grip, because you've got now 3 batteries at the same time. So that's a huge boost. Here's the battery cartridge, and you can fit 2 additional batteries on here. Obviously, adds a bit of weight. But yeah, battery life is something that they've definitely addressed here. And, also for like the people that also shoot video, they built a mic jack into here, which, normally on the actual X-T4 body itself, it's not, it doesn't have a dedicated audio jack, so you have to use an adapter. So that's, something that you guys might want.
Hold on, back up there. You're saying there's a mic jack in the grip, but it's not in the body?
It has another one too, but it's so.
Oh, it's smaller than 3.5. They did that. Yeah.
So you don't have to deal with dongles and stuff.
But do they have a headphone jack?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's okay.
Oh, sorry. That's what I meant. No. The mic jack is here, but this is the headphone jack. The one on the grip is the headphone jack.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And then what else can I say? Oh, here's another thing that a lot of pro shooters will want. You've got two memory card slots. So, for a lot of the people that are like, oh, it's only got 1 slot, it's not professional enough, or if you're worried about images getting corrupted or anything, you can now put two cards in here, and it will VHS too. So, all in all, it's been great, and they've done a great job with this camera. And, if you, depending on how much you value stabilization, this may be a worthy upgrade for you with X-T4, going from X-T3 to X-T4. If you're coming from X-T2, definitely. it's a significant upgrade. Again, just we talked about earlier when Chris was talking about the film simulations with the X105. The XT4 does include the Eterna bleach bypass simulation. So, if you're a fan of that particular simulation, you'll like it. It's got a very vintagey look. It's kind of like silver halide film. See, if you guys go on the site, all of the images from the first impressions that we did, they were all shot on the bleach bypass simulation. So yeah, it's a pretty worthy upgrade. I will say one thing though. I do wish that, like on the X105, they would make the exposure compensation button lockable. It's not a unique problem for this camera. A lot of cameras have this issue. Now, granted, it's not it doesn't turn as easily as some other cameras in the market, but it's still one of those things that you want to watch out for, because if you just grab a camera and you start shooting, sometimes you may not realize that you're at like +2 EV, and then you get home and you realize, oh, what's going on? All my images are like the exposure is way off. So yeah, I think just something for the industry to address as a whole. Just anytime you put an EV dial on the camera, make it lockable, please. Yeah.
Let's take a look at some images. Let me load those up right now. Can you guys see these?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So these are some of Paul's images from the Black Lives Matter post-protest that we were shooting. Let me minimize that so you can see a little bit better. Paul, these were shot in Acros, right?
Correct.
Any editing?
Some of them, I did do some exposure adjustments in post, just to similar to what you did, just bring down some of the highlights. But other than that, there is no retouching or anything. The Acros was done in camera.
Sorry, I'm just looking at that image again. There's just so much detail. The X-T4 has the clarity option, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm pretty sure it has to.
I personally don't use it that often. Just because my workflow, I do most of my editing in Capture One.
Yeah. I know it slows down the performance of the camera, but for me, I just like seeing that extra pop.
Yeah, there is a clarity option.
Cool. Yeah, so maybe that's one of the major differentiators between those two and the X100V.
Yep. Yeah, it's also got the color chrome it's brought over. There's also color chrome FX blue. So if you shoot a lot of landscapes and if the skies aren't as interesting as you would like it to be, that helps bring out the deep blue sky that you sometimes want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all the focus on this is phenomenal. It's able to pick out eyes and faces. Even sometimes we've noticed recently, just shooting during COVID-19 days, the face AF doesn't always work because you've got the mask interfering with covering half the face. A lot of times it was still recognizing eyes. So yeah, it's pretty impressive.
That was going to be one of my questions. I know we were talking about differences between the X-T3 and the X-T4. Is it a significant improvement in AF performance?
Yeah, so far, obviously, I haven't been able to shoot sports with it, just given our current situation. But the AF is very, very responsive. It's you guys have all shot with Fuji cameras, and anytime there's a face in the frame, you'll see the bracket, and then you also see the eyes, if you can identify the eyes, and you can see this thing darting around anytime I'm in public, just anytime the face shows up. So I'm not gonna say it's. I think the Sony A9 is still the king. The A9 and A9 II are still king when it comes to AF performance, but this is pretty darn good, folks.
I know that you were having some problems the other night when we were shooting on my rooftop. Were those uh, specifically those problems were about blur? Were those autofocus problems, or was it because you were shooting at too long of exposure? And
Yeah,
there
it
were
just I think the roof wasn't like the most stable because it picked up a lot of vibration just from walking. I've since done other long exposures and I didn't find the same issue.
okay.
Yeah, and I've done both. With the with the IBIS turned off and on, and I was getting sharp results.
Now, do you think that the ibis is good enough to the point where you wouldn't necessarily need it uh, in the lens? Um, I mean, how do you feel about that?
Uh, it's certainly good. Well, it depends, right? If it really depends on the lens you're talking about. If it's like a wide angle, sure. But if I'm talking about like a long zoom that doesn't have it, or a portrait lens, maybe. Because it's the longer the focal length, the more it's the camera shake is going to be noticeable.
Yeah, but I guess more specifically, what I'm asking, and I apologize because I'm not making this clear. Um, you said you were able to shoot down to like a fifth of a second with this and still get a
Yeah, and you
pretty.
know me, like with the amount of coffee I drink every day.
Yeah, I was about to say
Yeah,
you
like I
basically
could
spit out
handhold
coffee.
it, and like hand holding it, I'm looking at the screen, so I'm not even like shooting it from a stable way. Like I've got it like pushed up against my face so that it's even more stable. Just hand holding it and shooting, I was able to get like usable sharp results.
With that lens that also has image stabilization, or with
Yeah,
another lens? Okay.
this lens, yeah. I well, so I've got the 8 to 16 also, but that's really it's more of a landscape lens. It's not really a walk around lens like this is. I do have some more testing with the 56, so just stay tuned for the full review. I'll talk about that a little bit more.
Okay. It doesn't look like anyone else has any other questions. One comment from T. Martin: the battery grip is interesting. One's unfamiliar with slide into the battery compartment, so a user can get the power of two batteries. This grip you're describing has two additional batteries. That's
Yeah, I'll show you guys again. So like most companies, like what you were saying, it has an adapter that's shaped like the battery. So you have to take the battery door off and then it inserts. This one doesn't. Okay. So you have to take this cover off. This is the contact that translates all the controls on the grip. But that's the only thing you have to remove. Here's the battery compartment.
the XH1 had the same thing.
Yeah. So and then also the grip also makes the main grip of the XT4 a little bit thicker. I don't know if you guys can see this on screen.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, it adds maybe another centimeter, so it makes it even easier to grip. Yeah, so and you get all of the controls on the back. It's the only thing you don't get is the D-pad and the menu button, basically. There you go. So you
Yeah.
have the joystick, AL, AF on. You have all the dials and the shutter and everything. So yeah, I know like you're not a fan of grips, but for people that shoot a lot of portraits like I do, or if you just you go long periods of time, like if you go on an assignment and you don't know when you're going to be able to charge again, this is a lot that you can keep with you. Like you could shoot for like an entire weekend and not have to worry about running out of juice.
So it's a proper workhorse.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, like, for people that are worried, like, oh, it looks like a toy camera. Like now, it looks like a DSLR. So, if you're concerned about your camera not looking professional, there's that too. Yeah. I mean, you've got other problems to worry about, but yeah.
I think to make it look more like a DSLR, you need to have like that little flash, well, the big flash in the hot shoe, and then you have to put like the Fong dome on top, and that's the only way that it'll
Well,
look
it's got a
like
hot
the
shoe.
DSLR.
It's got a hot shoe, so you can do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only way. Brett, you have any other questions for Paul?
No, I sure don't. Looks like a pretty good camera to me.
Yeah.
Well, looks like we wrapped up my segment just in time because the EOSR just died.
Oh, jeez. All right.
I'll stay on audio while I figure out what's going on with the EOSR.
No worries. It's time for Brett to talk anyway. So, Brett,
Yep.
you're talking about the Z50, right?